Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over Tropical Storm Elsa, which is really close to making landfall just a couple miles offshore of northern Florida, and probably over the next couple of hours, and actually probably by when you're watching this video, it will most likely have already made landfall. This is now expected to take more of a westerly track, so it's going to hug the coast a little bit more, meaning that areas in the coastal mid-Atlantic and coastal northeast will also have a few more impacts than we were initially expecting. So we're going to be talking about the track of the storm, the intensity, and all you need to know in today's video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end. Here's a look at the current National Weather Service page. You can see that we have a few red flag warnings scattered throughout the northwest, as well as some excessive heat warnings in that dark red color for parts of California, Arizona, and Nevada. We have excessive heat warnings in the purple color for parts of the southwest, as well as heat advisories in the orange for much of the west, and also for parts of the coastal northeast. We have tropical storm warnings in the dark red, and that's for parts of the coastal waters off of Florida, the Carolinas, and Georgia, as well as for areas off the coast of the mid-Atlantic. And then we have tropical storm watches for a little bit of Florida, as well as for eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. And then we also have a few flood watches underneath there, as well as for southern Texas, where we also have some flood watches in effect for today. Yesterday, we had a high temperature of 124 degrees in Death Valley, California, with a low temperature of 31 degrees in Peter Sinks, Utah. The highest rainfall report was in Key Biscayne, Florida, where they got to 4.23 inches of rainfall, and there were no snowfall reports as of yesterday. Taking a look at where Tropical Storm Elsa is right now, this is the plot from 8 a.m. this morning, so this has not been fully updated just yet. You can see that it is very close to where to the land. So probably by the next update, I'm assuming this will already have made landfall. That's why I titled the video the way I did, because by the time that most of you guys are watching, it will have already made landfall. And either way, it's already making a lot of impacts with the Big Bend of Florida, and also for areas like Tampa Bay, where we have been seeing some tropical storm force winds. It's located at 29.9 degrees north by 83.6 degrees west, maximum winds of 65 miles per hour, minimum pressure of 999 millibars, and it's moving north at 14 miles per hour. So again, this is going to be making landfall rather quickly. I would assume probably by the 2 p.m. update, they would have this making landfall already, and that's what they actually have in their forecast advisory by this point. So we have a broad area of low pressure. You can tell that by the way that the wind barbs are pointing on the surface plots, and that area of broad low pressure will be making its way further north over the next couple of hours. Here to be the current satellite imagery, and you can see much of the convective action is already onshore. So even though the center is just barely offshore, most of the actual convective activity is in northern Florida and southern Georgia by this point. We actually already have a tornado watch in parts of northern Florida from this event. So even if it's not making, even if it's not on land just yet, even if it's just offshore, the impacts are already being felt over these areas, and have already been being felt over the past few hours. So we've already been seeing quite a lot of rainfall, and also some strong winds in these areas, and that'll continue over the next couple of hours. Here's a look at the key messages from Tropical Storm Elsa according to the National Hurricane Center. The first one reads, as Elsa moves across the western and northern Florida peninsula today, heavy rainfall may result in considerable flash urban and isolated moderate river flooding. Heavy rainfall across southeast Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and southeastern Virginia may result in isolated flash and urban flooding, with considerable flash and urban flooding possible across coastal Georgia and the low country of South Carolina. Heavy rainfall across the northeast and New England Thursday and Friday could lead lead to isolated flash and urban flooding. The second key message reads, there is a danger of life-threatening storm surge along portions of the west coast of Florida today, and a storm surge warning is in effect for that area. Hurricane conditions are possible during the next several hours along portions of the west coast of Florida, where a hurricane warning is in effect. Tropical storm conditions are occurring across portions of the western Florida peninsula and will continue to spread northward along the west coast of the state within the warning area through today. And then finally, although the center of Elsa is expected to remain inland of the coastline from Georgia through the Carolinas during the next day or two, tropical storm conditions are expected along much of the coast of Georgia and South Carolina. Tropical storm conditions are also possible along the coast of the mid-Atlantic states by Thursday night or Friday. So those are the key messages from the National Hurricane Center, and you can check out the updated ones at their website, which is hurricanes.gov, and that's where you can get all the latest information about the storm. Taking a look at the current watches and warnings, you can see we have tropical storm warnings up for areas surrounding the Big Bend of Florida, as well as for parts of coastal South Carolina and Georgia, with some tropical storm watches in effect for the coastal waters of the Mid-Atlantic and parts of the Southeast as well. And I'm going to be really curious whether they actually extend, especially for areas like the Delmarva and Eastern Virginia, whether they extend that tropical storm watch up into that area, or that tropical storm warning into that area, just because it looks like it's going to be fairly borderline. So we're going to want to watch that. They do have the tropical storm watches up for the waters off the shore of the Mid-Atlantic as of right now, but it's not on shore just yet. So we're going to have to continue to watch that because that is definitely a possibility over the next couple of days. Taking a look at the current cone track from the National Hurricane Center, we're expecting this to stay as a tropical storm as it moves through Georgia, then weaken to a tropical depression as it's over central South Carolina and central North Carolina, stay as a tropical depression Thursday night as it's in eastern Virginia, and then sometime between Thursday night and Friday morning, while it's moving between Virginia and about New York City, it should strengthen back up to a tropical storm, and then by Friday night into Saturday and Sunday, it'll be moving into southeastern Canada, and then eventually it'll even be making a run all the way up into southern Greenland as a weak tropical storm. So definitely it'll be impacting quite a lot of the East Coast, and not just the East Coast of the United States, but also parts of the East Coast of Canada, as well as many of these storms do. They usually weaken quite considerably, but areas like Nova Scotia and Newfoundland can get impacted by quite a lot of these remnant tropical storms as they head up the coast. Taking a look at some of the model intensity guidance, you can see that the storm is located right in here, right along the Big Bend of Florida. It'll be moving to the northeast over the next couple of hours, and then eventually it'll be just offshore of the northeast coast. Now we are going to be seeing a little bit of a shift where instead of the center of the convection being on the eastern side of the storm, it's going to kind of gradually shift so that most of the severe weather and most of the rainfall is on the northern end of the storm, which means that areas like the coastal northeast and mid-Atlantic have now a better shot of seeing some impacts in the way of rainfall, mostly, not really in terms of wind, out of this event than we originally expected, because before we were expecting most of the convective activity to stay off to the southeast of the storm. Taking a look at the tropical storm force wind probabilities, we have a 10 to 20% chance in this light green color, which covers pretty much the entire east coast all the way up into Canada. And then of course you have those higher values right in and along northern Florida and southeastern Georgia. That's where we're already dealing with those tropical storm force wind impacts. Taking a look at the intensity guidance, you can see that we have this storm currently out right around 55 miles per hour. Now this was the models did not refresh just yet, so this was as of 8 a.m. this morning. The new update has it at 65 miles per hour, so that would be a little bit higher up here, so it would be more right in here. But either way, we're looking at this storm still expected to weaken as it heads into the southeast and as it heads inland. Then it'll likely strengthen a little bit more. This time period right in here would be the time when it's going over the Delmarva and when it's off the coast of the mid-Atlantic. So it might strengthen a little bit within that time, and then it'll kind of be all over the place as we go through parts of the coastal northeast and also into the southeastern provinces of Canada. Mainly because we're not exactly sure on what the colder water temperatures will have an impact on with the storm. So whether that weakens or just kind of stays the same, it's still up for question. Although again, even in those areas, the biggest threats are not going to be the wind, it's going to be mostly the rain out of this event. Taking a look at the storm surge forecast, Tampa Bay and some of the surrounding areas expecting 1 to 3 feet storm surge, as well as areas up into the northern Big Bend of Florida. As you get to the lower Big Bend of Florida, that's where we're looking at 2 to 4 feet storm surge, and then 1 to 2 foot storm surge in coastal Georgia and South Carolina. So minor to moderate coastal flooding is possible out of this event. If we look at the rainfall forecast from the Weather Prediction Center, you can see that all along the East Coast. So even if you're getting closer to 50 to 100 miles inland, you're still expecting upwards of 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. And then there's a little stripe here in parts of northern Florida and southern Georgia where we have a 4 to 6 inch area of rainfall that's expected. So along pretty much the entirety of the East Coast, everywhere that's even to the east of the Appalachians is expected to be seeing quite a bit of rainfall out of this event over the next couple of days. So it will definitely be a widespread rainmaker up and down the East Coast. And if we even look at the flash flooding risk over the next 3 days, you can see that we have a 20% moderate risk in parts of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, with the rest of the East Coast for the most part being under a 10% to 20% slight risk of flash flooding. So you can see a fairly wide area, especially for Thursday and Friday, has a risk of seeing some flash flooding out of this storm system. That will wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.